To the boardrooms of corporate India. Tune in tonight at 10 p.m. only on ET Now.
Welcome back. You're watching Buy Now Sell Now on ET Now, and time for our viewer queries. The first one is coming in from Soumitra, and he wants a perspective on Saregama. He wants a fundamental view for the longer term, if it's worth looking at, and also if yes, then what sort of a level should he look at if he wants to enter into this counter currently. Shahina, what's your take on Saregama? Do you think it's a sound company for Soumitra to look at and invest in currently?
Yeah, I think there's a lot happening on Saregama because we have seen a lot of changes that are happening in terms of the copyright, strengthening of the copyright laws, and Saregama is one of the top beneficiaries. I would think that the charts also look very bullish, so I would, I would buy or I would continue holding if I'm already invested, and I would look at a price target of close to about, in fact, from here almost about 20% higher, 4,390 rupees as a price target, with a stop loss of deep stop loss of about 3,100.
Okay, we've got Vishwanathan from Dubai who got into Lakshmi Organics at an attractive price, Kunal, 225, but he's pointing out that it's been hitting lower circuit over the last couple of trading sessions. Today also it's a lower circuit if I'm not mistaken, with no buyers. What should he do with this? Should he book out when he can, because he's made a sizable profit?
Well, I would suggest yes, if possible, look to book out. I'm not sure that how the circuit would probably play out, or how the charts would play out in terms of circuits. Also, I think if I'm not wrong, it's a very recently listed stock as well. What happens typically is that when the market gets into a phase where many large cap stocks, they tend to pick up a rally, the small caps and mid caps, they take a bit of a backseat. So we are going into that phase where it's possible that many of these high flying stocks, they could go into a corrective mode. So I think purely on that sense, I would suggest that you should look out to book profits.
One is from Kaustubh, and he's saying that this query is in continuity to the start of the week where he asked about Kotak Mahindra Bank. He wants to know where do you now see it move, Kunal? It is actually near its first target of 1950. So should he continue to hold on to Kotak Mahindra Bank or sell?
So exactly, this is what we were pointing out since last 1 week, that Kotak Mahindra Bank seems to be a very formidable trending stock, and it's moved up extremely well from my earlier target ranges or earlier entry points closer to 1780, 1800 plus. It's moved up almost 10% from those levels. I think now at current levels, I would suggest that it's prudent enough to try and book out your profits over here, or at least trail your stop losses to a reasonably high level, because the markets are into a phase where many of these banking stocks, they are going into a bit of a corrective mode. So momentum is not lasting for a couple of days or more than that. I think when you're into that kind of a tricky environment, it's prudent enough to trail your stop losses significantly higher, or maybe book out at least partial profits over here. So even if it's a trading position, I would suggest to book out a reasonable amount of profits over here and trail your stop losses to 1900 plus levels.
Neela from Chennai has written in saying good morning and happy Friday to all. Wish you a happy Friday as well, Neela. This one's for you, Shahina, and she's a long-term investor, she points out, and she's debating whether to buy Sonata Software or Zensar Technologies, and she's not really hanging on to these two names. If these two are not your picks, she would like another one that you can recommend in the same space.
Well, I would like Zensar Technologies if I was to pick between the two, because Sonata is more of a turnaround, which is fine. But I think Zensar has already its growth plans in place. It's doing very well. In terms of order book also, they are getting a number of new orders also. So they have tied up for some good deals. The deal flow is pretty strong. So I would, be continuing to hold on to Zensar Technologies, and I can add at current levels also. I believe from here there is a decent upside over the medium to longer term. It is one of the better stocks in the mid cap IT.
Okay, this one is coming in from Prasad. He's holding Lupin shares, about 100 shares of Lupin, which he's purchased at 1600 rupees per share. He bought Lupin in 2016. He's saying, should I book loss or wait for some more time and go ahead and add some more of Lupin into the portfolio? And if he needs to go ahead and sell it at a loss, then he wants to know where should he go ahead and invest that amount. Kunal, would you be able to give an advice to Prasad? What should he do with Lupin? Should he book loss? And if so, where can he look to invest this money then?
Well, I would suggest to look out for better entry points to try and exit the stock, because it's going into a phase where the indicators are turning around on the bearish side for Lupin. So what has happened is I think 2 days back or 3 days back, there has been a death crossover. So that's a technical term which indicates that the 50-day moving average has broken below the 200-day moving average for Lupin. That's sort of a phenomena which happens very, very rarely. The last time, for example, it happened for Lupin when the stock was at 2000 levels in the year 2016, 2000 or 1900 odd levels in the year 2016. And from there, the stock started a bearish trend which lasted for almost 2 or 3 years, if I'm not wrong. So I would sense that it's better enough to try and look out for these marginal rallies which come across to try and exit. And if you're looking as a better alternative, then why not look at maybe a Sun Pharma? That looks very attractive. It's one of the fresh stocks, large cap names, which have emerged as breakout candidates. So I would suggest a shift from Lupin to Sun Pharma.
Okay. Shaina, I'm coming to you for this next one. Ankita from Nagpur has written in about Dhampur Sugar, which she bought at levels of 345. So she's losing a little bit of ground. The question really is that arguments have been made to re-rate these sugar stocks based on the kind of shift that they've seen in ethanol, it being a rising contributor to EBITDA and to earnings. Should there be a re-rating?
Well, yes, there is a re-rating that has happened in sugar stocks, and I think it is positive. The Dhampur, I think, is in a short-term consolidation phase, which will, like a lot of other sugar stocks is. But I would, continue holding the stock. I see from here for a medium-term to longer-term, there is a decent upside. I think ethanol is one of the big positives that is there for the overall sugar industry, and with Brazilian sugar. Finding some bit of a hit, I think Indian sugar prices also should remain steady going forward. So one can remain invested in the sector, and Dhampur looks okay at current levels for the longer term.
This one is from Vimla George. She's saying she has 1000 shares of Manapuram, which she's purchased at 118 rupees per share, rather 188 rupees per share. She's saying that can I expect any good profit in the next 1 year? Kunal, how does the chart of Manapura Finance look like? You think Vimla can expect some good profits from Manapura Finance? Her purchase price was 188.
Well, Cheryl, I would advise to book out, profits or majority of your profits profits in fact, or, your quantity over here, because I would sense that Manapura Finance is confirming a downward trend. The stock has broken below its, critical, short-term moving averages. And I think the manner of the sell-off which the stock had shown from those 218 levels or 219 levels odd, I think is something which is a bit precarious. So I would suggest to exit your quantity even if you've bought at slightly higher levels.
Okay, Clean Sciences is the counter that we're talking about. This is from Rijo. He's got 50 shares that he got in at levels of 1650. He's wondering whether this can be held for the long term and what the prospects are. Shahina, what would your comment be on this one?
Yeah, I think it's in a good new age industry where you have chemicals that are catering to some of the clean technologies going forward. So one can continue remain invested. I would continue holding the stock with a stop loss of 1,600, and I would think that from here we can see a target of about closer to 2,000. So one can continue holding.
Okay, this one is from Aditya Kulkarni. He wants to know whether he should buy Tata Steel at current levels with a target of 1550 in mind. Does it make sense, Kunal? Do you think 1550 is on site for Tata Steel? Should Aditya go ahead and purchase at current levels?
1550 means, I think if I'm not wrong, that the stock would come back to its previous, swing highs or the major highs. I think 1530 or 1540 was the previous high for Tata Steel, if I'm not wrong. Now, I think that could probably happen if the stock is, passes the test to try and support and take support at the 50-day moving average. What has happened for many of these metal stocks is in the last 3 weeks, these stocks have gone through a sideways price action, and by that, what has happened is that these stocks have come back towards testing their 50-day moving average support. Now, this is sort of a litmus test which happens, on a regular basis for individual stocks, whether they take support at their short-term averages, and if that happens, then you could typically see a bounce back, and those bounce back could take the stock back towards its previous swing highs. So I would suggest that wait and watch for the next couple of days. If the stock holds on to its 50-day moving average, which I think is at 1380 levels, and the stock is at 1393, so almost just the 1% lower from current levels. If it manages to take support over here for the next couple of days, then you can build in a possibility that the stock can bounce back again and hit back towards 1550 mark. So I would suggest a wait and watch at least for the next couple of days.
Okay, I'm taking a chance and asking you this, Shahina. We've got Lakshman Sodagam from Denmark who's asking about Ganesh Benzoplast. As I see it, from what I read just now, the stock is just listed on the NSE. It's a small cap counter, and it's gained significantly over the past couple of days because of that listing on the NSE. 500 shares he's got at levels of 75. Do you have a fundamental view? He's looking for the next 2 years.
Well, I think if you're looking at medium to longer term, definitely we have seen chemical stocks continue to remain in favor, and which includes Ganesh Benzoplast. I think if you're looking at a medium term return, from here, I would say we can see a price target of about 95 rupees. I don't see that too much of a stress from here. And one can keep a stop loss of close to about 78.
One is for you, Kunal, and this one is coming from Sagar, and this is not based on some stocks, but he wants to know about Nifty. He's saying on the charts, do you see any big correction coming in for the Nifty at the pace that is actually seeing a rally? 20,000 doesn't look too far right now for Nifty. So he's asking, do you see major correction? And he's not asking whether it's 100, 200, 500 point. Do you see a big correction that may likely come in for the markets currently?
Well, I would sense that a correction should be in the, it's in the lurking, over here, because the markets are getting into an exaggerated kind of a zone where many of the, large cap stocks and the underperformers are making a comeback. Now, typically, when you see such kind of a froth building up, you can always expect that the markets get into a correction mode. But then it's very, very difficult to anticipate that when exactly would be the first point of topping out. You have to wait for, the indices to give you signals where it breaks past above its previous swing lows and starts into a corrective phase. So we need to see those signs coming out for the indices to really take a bearish call. The best way to look at is, let the index give you confirmation of breaking below its major support levels. So I think first level of support is closer to 17,400 to 500 zone. If that level gets breached, then I believe that you can probably look at, triggering profit booking for majority of your stocks, etc. And I think that could be one position where that could be one level where you can look to start, maybe taking some shorts as well as short positions in your short-term trading portfolio. So yes, I believe that the markets seems to be overbought, but then the overbought nature has gone over the last 2 to 3 months. But I believe a much better way to try and trade is to let have a trailing stop loss and let those stop losses get triggered. And if that happens, that could be a good entry point for creating fresh shorts.
predicting where it's going to go is fraught with danger, Kunal, isn't it? Considering that all of the minor declines we've seen over the last year and a half have been aggressively bought into. We haven't had a major correction really in that span. The query on Bharti Airtel from Vinay, Kunal, and we discussed this, I know, and I believe that you're positive on it. I believe he's asking about both the short term, which is 3 months, as well as the medium term, which he defines as 18 to 24 months. What kind of a behavior can he expect based on the charts?
See, I think it could probably go into a two-pronged behavior in both of these time frames. So I think from the next 1 to 3 months, I would expect 700 to 750 as broadly the range for Bharti Airtel, where it may consolidate, because it's possible that the markets may also go into a bit of a churn mode, where many of these sectors and stocks which have been moving sideways, like pharma, etc., they could probably try and pick up pace. So you might see some shifting out coming out from these telecom stocks, and also I think the majority of the news flow seems to be now factored into the stock price. And whenever you see majority of news flow gets factored in and there is a dearth of news flow, then the stock can remain more sideways. So I would sense that over the next 3 months, a higher probability trade could be that Bharti Airtel can remain sideways, but the bias would still remain on the bullish side. Long term wise, as we just explained on the charts as well, that I would be of the belief that Bharti Airtel is just in the starting phase of the longer term bull market for itself. It's broken out of a 10 years of consolidation, and we've seen what happens to stock when they break out of 10 years of consolidation. And there are numerous examples in the large cap and mid cap category. So long term wise, very bullish on Bharti Airtel, but from a short term perspective, 1 to 3 months, I would expect probably a sideways consolidation.
Okay, this one is from Pragya Raj and wants to know about SBI and Bank of Baroda, especially after the bad bank announcement that's come by yesterday. What's your take on this, Shahina? How does SBI and Bank of Baroda look like? Do you think that Pragya should look at these counters?
SBI, definitely, I would suggest that one can look and invest in this counter. Of course, it will benefit both by the bad bank as well as, overall its performance has been improving over the last couple of quarters. And I think in terms of valuation also, with just about 1.5 times price to book, it's not expensive. Over the next couple of months in the near term, I would say a price of about 500 is definitely doable on SBI. So one can invest in SBI. I would prefer SBI to Bank of Baroda because I think it is better in the PSU space to be in the largest bank, and otherwise also add some private sector bank to your banking portfolio.
Okay, a couple of questions on Oracle. We've got P. Saxena from Patna, I believe, who's gotten at levels of 3634, which seems to be an attractive buying price, as well as Sunny, who's gotten at levels of 4240. Kunal, one of them has a long-term time horizon of 2 to 3 years, but Sunny points out that he's witnessed very sharp profit taking at levels above 4,000, which it is at right now. He's wondering whether he should book out at these levels and wait for a correction, or should he hold on? And what would be the perspective for the next 2 to 3 years?
See, I would be of the belief, that you have to take it into phases as such. At current levels, approximately near the 4,000 mark, I believe it could be a good enough strategy to try and book out, profits over here. Wait for the markets to get into a zone where you would probably see these stocks correcting by at least another 10 to 15%, if not more. I think that phase is just about very, very close. And as I said, very difficult to anticipate when exactly that would happen. So I would suggest that you should book out, profits over here. Let a correction come by, and when that happens, take use of that correction. So if the stocks start to correct by at least 10 to 15%, I think that should be a good enough, re-entry point for you. Specifically if you're looking at for the next 2 to 3 years.
This one is from Mayank and this one is for you, Shahina. He's saying the Bajaj Holding today is up about 12%. He wants views on similar holding companies like Maharashtra Scooters as well as Kalyani Investments. Do you think that he can go ahead and look at these counters for an investment for a period of 2 years?
Well, I normally do not like investments in holding companies, and if one really has to look at the biggest holding company of them all, it is to be Reliance. So, if really one is looking at that, one can look at Reliance. Also, Grasim, I think at current levels as a holding company looks interesting because of Vodafone coming out of the woods and cement looking better. And the investments that Grasim has in both these segments is pretty huge. So one can look at Reliance and Grasim if you're looking at holding companies specifically. But otherwise, I'm not really too bullish because there's a huge holding company discount that normally some of these companies get.
Okay, let's try and slip in a couple more questions if we possibly can. This one's for you, Kunal. Joyshila from Tamil Nadu, Kovilpatti, is asking about Godrej Industries. Can it be bought at the current level with 1 year perspective?
Well, yes, I think the stock is still consolidating. We were discussing this in a couple of days back as well. I think it should be a good entry point for you to enter into Godrej Industries. With a 1 year time frame, I would expect if the markets also moderate, that the stock can come back to 600 to 625 zone.
Okay, this one is from Divya. She's saying that she has Navneet Education, about 60 shares, which she's purchased at 88 rupees per share. Wants to know whether it's good to hold on to, or should she go ahead and sell at current market price. What's your take on Navneet Education? Kunal, should Divya stay put with this holding?
I would suggest to book out profits and move to a better quality large cap name. I think that would be a much prudent strategy given the construct of the market so far.
Okay, we've got Tippeswamy who's got Glenmark Life Sciences, Shahina, in the IPO, bought 20 shares, wondering whether to hold on or should they book out right now?
I would suggest a switch from Glenmark Life. It has been one of the underperformers in terms of the new IPOs that we've seen, largely because the funds that the company has raised is not really coming really into the company per se. So I would actually switch from Glenmark Life, maybe look at something like a Cipla, I think there, or even a Biocon, which actually there's something, some good positive news that is taking the stock up higher. But I would switch.
Anuradha, and this one is for you, Shahina. 300 shares of Nosil that she's purchased at 175 rupees per share. She wants to know whether she can add some more at current market price. She's a long-term investor, so fundamentally, does it make sense for Anuradha to go ahead and add some more of Nosil and stay put with this holding?
Well, she can stay put with this holding. I would continue holding. Adding also wouldn't really, it's not too much of a negative. You can still add from here, but you can hold the current holdings that you have. Keep a stop loss of 260, and you can have a target of about 320.
Since it's Friday, I'm taking the option of extending it just a little bit more. And Kunal, the regular question has come in. S. Krishnan from Chennai is asking about United Spirits and United Breweries. He's got United Spirits at 726, United Breweries at 1577. Wondering which of the two is the better position to hold for the next 1 year.
Both of them are attractive. I've studied the charts extensively for both of these stocks. Compared to the other peers like Radico and GM Breweries, both of these have been underperformers on a relative basis. So I would suggest that if it's possible, hold on to both of them rather than just picking out one of them. I would believe that both these stocks hold potential, and if there is a catch up towards the underperformance from its other mid cap peers, then these stocks can have a substantial upside over the next 1 to 3 years. So take it as a longer term play, and I would suggest hold both of them.
Okay, let's hit the rapid fire segment. I believe both of you are quite familiar with it. Let's try and answer as many as possible over the next couple of minutes. Shiny, I'll start with you. Radhakrishnan has identified 3 stocks that he wants to invest in. He's got 2 lakh rupees that he wants to deploy. ITC, NMDC and MSTC are the counters. Which of these would you pick?
I would go with an ITC. I think this is one stock that has just started its upward momentum. A lot happening.
This one is from Swayam. He wants to know about Charlotte Hotels. He's already purchased at 170 rupees per share. Can I accumulate for long, holding a good quantity. What's your take, Kunal? Does it make sense to stay put with Charlotte Hotels?
I would suggest a switch from this stock towards Indian hotels from the same space.
Kunal, coming back to you, Bombay Dyeing is a stock. Question is from Imran, wondering whether to put money into it for the short term. What would you say?
Not from a short term, but if you're in from the next 1 to 3 years, then possibly I think you can put money, because the stock is coming closer to a breakout of a rounding bottom pattern, but that plays out over more of a longer term time period.
Okay, this one is for Meenakshi. This one is for you, Shahina. She's already bought a Polycab at 2,480 rupees per share. How does this counter look? Worth staying put with it?
Yeah, it's been one of the very bright performers in the last couple of quarters. Stay put, strong business momentum and strong price momentum also.
Shaina, coming back to you in the real estate space, Prestige and Brigade. What would you say in terms of buying them at the current level for the medium term? Rajan is asking.
If you want to buy it, you can buy it for the medium term. You can look for a target of for Prestige Estates of 530 with a stop loss of 360. So one can definitely add.
This one is from Shashwati Chaudhary. Wants to know a good price to invest Titan. Kunal?
A much better price to invest into Titan would be at your levels closer to 1600 or 1600 to 1650. That would probably coincide with the stock coming back towards its longer term moving averages as well.
Alright, and with that we come to the end of the rapid fire. Thank you, Kunal, as well as Shahina, for joining us on the show, giving us your take on the telecom space, as well as resolving viewer queries, as well as doing the rapid fire with us as well. And on that note, we'll slip into a break on this edition of Buy Now, Sell Now. But stay tuned, lots lined up for you after the break, so don't go anywhere.